Skewable. Salutations and a clenched fist salute, YouTube renegades. Welcome y bienvenidos to the Outlaw News, the small 1,500 plus nobody platform on YouTube that sprays the YouTube yarda with a flare tip can of Krylon Klecha. I am your host, the YouTube Magonista, the Cholo journalist, the voice of the barrio, the voice of the Vato Loco, the voice of the voiceless. ¿Qué pasa, Cyber Raza? I hope all is well in Cyber Vato land today, and everyone is here either 113 or 114% activated and strapped with them critical thinking beanies on extra tight right now. So if you think you're suited and booted, y listo for action, then let's mount up Outlaw Posse and ride to the dark side of YouTube for a moment. Though we outlaws shall surf through the dark valley of snitch influencer platforms, an outlaw shall fear no snitch influencer's lies or manipulation. Now that we set today's tone, YouTube renegades, with our official credo, let's get activated. Okay, Outlaw Renegades. I don't really have a script. I have a few things written down on what I want to talk about, topics today, which our topic is going to be the Goshen Massacre, the Tulare County Goshen Massacre. Before I begin, I want to ask you one question, and then I'm going to ask again when this is over. And I want you to think about if your first opinion changed from your final opinion of what I'm asking you. Do you think the Tulare County January 16th Goshen Massacre is the New Age Maxson Road murders, which happened in 1995 in El Monte, California? So I want you to think about that, and then I'm going to ask you again in the end. Because if you go on most snitch influencers platforms, and I'm pretty sure most people have that thought in their mind, that the Goshen Massacre is very similar to the El Monte murders that happened in 1995 on Maxson Road. With that said, let's get into this topic, which we're going to predominantly talk about the Goshen Massacre, but we're going to talk about also the Maxson Road Massacre and the dead president's killings, which happened in July of 2000 in San Bernardino County. And you'll see how they not necessarily tie in together, but they have a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities. First, I want to point out that my perspective is not based on mainstream media or what snitch influencers are saying. My perspective is a little different than theirs, a little bit more better research, I would think. So bear with me in what I'm about to do. First off, let's talk about the facts about the Goshen Massacre. We know this happened on January 16th, right? Police responded to a 911 active shooter call at a Goshen residence, which is in Tulare County, and found 6 people dead from gunshot wounds, and it very much resembled the 1995 El Monte Maxson Road murders. Because apparently this was labeled as a gang hit, or it's being sold to us as a prison gang orchestrated hit gone wrong, just like the Maxson Road murders. Now, right off the bat, after these murders happened, within, I want to say, 2 days, law enforcement had an official press conference. And that's what we're going to touch on first, the official press conference. They told us that there were 6 individuals that were dead and 3 surviving witnesses. That was true. That was probably one of the only true things they said during the press conference. Followed by the only true piece of evidence or statement that they gave us. They began to insinuate from the very beginning that this was a cartel hit, which involved somehow the prison gangs, the Nuestra Familia, and the Mexican Mafia, and that apparently the drugs that were being sold by whichever organization was involved in this was getting their chemicals from the Chinese government. You cannot make this up. If you look at the official press conference, you will see they mention cartels. They don't mention a specific cartel because they don't know anything. And then they start mentioning prison gangs. They don't specifically insinuate a specific prison gang, but it's obvious we all know who they're talking about. And they have to mention that the drugs that the cartel is supplying, whichever prison gang is selling the drugs there, is getting it from the Chinese. They did everything but mention Al-Qaeda, Bin Laden, and the Russians. I mean, you can't make this shit up. They literally threw all that in. That is like a badly written, poor scripted cartel Spanish soap opera is what the narrative of what they're trying to sell us. And we'll talk about the narrative as we go along a little bit more. They also told us that the Goshen residence was known for drug and gang activity allegedly linked to the Sureños. Apparently, these individuals at this house were validated Sureños. My question is, what was the active status of their Sureños? Were they labeled by prison officials, Sureños, or was this something that they were just basically labeled as by law enforcement whenever you have contact with law enforcement and they know that you're not from that area, or if they know you're from that area, you're automatically from that hood? How old was it? How old was this information? Was it recent? But we won't know. They also said that they had previously served a parole compliance search warrant at the house and arrested Eladio Peraz. Yeah, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Peraz. Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry, let me repeat that again. Eladio Peraz. They arrested him on possession of several guns, ammunition, and apparently had body armor, who apparently was released 3 or 4 days after that arrest. Why was he released on a parole violation? They went there on a parole compliance check, caught him violating his parole with apparently several guns, ammunition, and body armor. Why was he released on bail a couple days later? That is a very good question that we need to ask ourselves. And you'll get an idea of why he was released as we go along. From the very beginning, law enforcement adamantly denied that Eladio Parza was the intended target. They didn't say who was the intended target, what their specific motive was. They just insinuated that this was a cartel-style hit, somehow linked to the Nuestra Familia, who was trying to rob a Mexican mafia drug spot, who gets their drugs from the cartel, and the chemicals come from the Chinese government. Can't make it up. That's what they were saying. But they adamantly told us that Eladio Peraz was not the intended target. And we'll see as we keep going why were they so adamant. I mean, if you go back and watch the press conference, they really wanted to emphasize that he was not the target for some reason. I don't know, maybe that's just me, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but that, I just noticed that they kind of pushed that a little bit. Also, and this is the good part right here, is that the sheriff of Tulare, was it Tulare County? I don't remember, but it was a sheriff that did the press conference, claimed that Tulare County and the Goshen area had cartel activity in the past. Well, going as far as naming a specific incident that happened in Riverside County of a similar massacre at a marijuana grow house. Oh man, let's talk about that for a minute, because we know the news is not going to elaborate it. They're just going to use stuff to fear-monger you, right? Let me guess, for those of you who saw the press conference, what do you think about when they said that? You were probably like, oh man, the cartels killed somebody at a marijuana grow operation, right? Excuse me, let me cough real quick. Well, this incident, I know it happened a few years back. I don't have it on my phone because I have other stuff on my phone. I should have probably looked that up, but I didn't. But I do know for a fact, this was in Riverside County, furthest south part of Riverside County, almost borderlining Imperial County and Riverside County. Pretty much less than an hour away from the U.S.-Mexican border. Nowhere near Tulare County, nowhere near the city of Goshen. So why would the sheriff go and try to tell us, that Tulare County had previous cartel activity and only name an incident that happened in Riverside County in Southern California, hundreds of miles away from Tulare County? It's not even a neighboring county, neighboring city. It is several hours away in Riverside County, Southern California. And the funny thing is about this is that this was it was a massacre of, oh man, it was quite a few amount of people. I don't remember, but it was several people. And it was a marijuana grow operation. And I want to say it was Iguana or Anza out there in the desert of Riverside County. And this was a Asian operation, meaning the individuals that were running this marijuana grow operation were Asian, and the people that were killed were Asian, and the people that are suspected of killing these people are Asian. So unless the triads and the Yakuza are considered cartels, this was not no cartel activity. This was Asian organized crime, I guess. I mean, I've never really looked into the update of this crime, but I'm well aware of it. And there was no cartel activity. This was Asian related, so I'm assuming it's Asian organized crime because it was a pretty sophisticated operation, pretty large operation. But let's go back onto this, because remember, he told us that there was cartel activity in Tulare County on national TV. So people have that embedded in their minds that there's cartel activity in Tulare County. Now, not only is that just a fear-mongering, but I want you to think about that for a moment for people who are going to get so scared that they're not going to travel to Tulare County. The money that's going to affect on the tax revenue, the local businesses, the gas stations, the restaurants. Believe it or not, things like this can destroy places. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the city of Mariloma, which is in Riverside County. Not that far down south in Riverside County, but it's in Riverside County. It used to be called Wineville until a horrendous massacre of children, I believe sexual abuse of children in the 1920s, I want to say, very early on. It was very early. Well, they renamed the city from Wineville to Mariloma because of the image it gave them and how it affected their economy. So I just want you to think about that when the sheriff is telling people that there's cartel activity in Tulare County and he can't point to one specific incident of actual cartel activity in Tulare County. Why would he do that? But, I mean, there's no need to do that because Tulare County is the hometown to the mysterious Mexican cartel that La Mano Negra worked for. La Mano Negra, apparently, according to him, ran around Tulare County, in and around the area, dropping bodies for the cartel and burying them who knows where and smoking people. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever read up or know about La Mano Negra, but this guy claims to be like the Iceman of the cartel business. Just like how the Iceman was to the Italian Mafia, this guy claims to be to this mysterious cartel that he'll tell everything about every murder and be not very specific, very vague, but refuses to tell him what specific cartel he worked for. A poor, basically homeless, stuttering, toothless guy claims to be this Superman cartel hitman that ran around Tulare County killing people. Go ask the sheriff of Tulare County if they've ever investigated any of his claims, if they've ever got any evidence to corroborate the claims he makes of the people he killed in Tulare County. Any witnesses, any DNA, any fingerprints. Have they convicted him on any of the claims La Mano Negra makes? Because he claims quite a few bodies in Tulare County, and if I was the sheriff and I wanted to scare the shit out of people, I wouldn't pick some Asian organized crime that happened hundreds of miles away in another county. I would pick the Netflix convict, con man, cartel hitman, La Mano Negra. And I would parade his funky looking face with the tooth missing. He looks like a fucking drunk, homeless paisa. But somehow, he's a superhuman cartel hitman. They had him. They could have paraded him and scared the shit out of everybody. And by telling everybody that La Mano Negra was probably behind this, that he was calling the shots from behind this because he's partnered up with either La Nuestra Familia or he's probably supplying the Mexican Mafia or something. I'm surprised they didn't run with that. They had La Mano Negra and they didn't run with it. They could have easily thrown him in there. They threw everybody, the Chinese. Well, they didn't throw the Russians, but they threw the Chinese, the cartels, Nuestra Familia, M, Norteños, Sureños, and then they had La Mano Negra and they didn't throw him in there. Well, go figure. But let's keep going. Now I want to go to the second press conference of the Goshen Massacre, which was on February 3rd, I believe, when they announced the arrest. And again, now, instead of going hard with the whole cartel thing, they started to begin to say that this was some sort of turf war between the NF and the MN. But somehow they're again supplied by the cartels, even though the cartels were involved in this. That is like a wild conspiracy. When you think about it, all the people they have working on this, I want you to think about this for a moment. These same people that are trying to sell us the notion that this is some sort of cartel style hit authorized by the Nuestra Familia against an Emma drug house, right? These are the same people that told us that the end to hostilities was for the two organizations to get out of the shoe and be able to network together to maximize profits, because they realized fighting with each other was causing them to lose money. And now, all of a sudden, the NF is just going to decide out of the blue, okay, this is their theory, that the NF is just going to decide out of the blue that fuck the peace treaty, that I know we're maximizing profits, and I know we got out of the shoe, and we did this all so we can make more money than we were making before. Now, instead of being mystery millionaires, we're mystery billionaires. And yet law enforcement has still failed to provide a seized prisoner bank account to this day from any organization. And the theory is that NF decided to say, fuck the peace treaty. We're going to sanction this hit, which went wrong. like the Maxson Road murders, and send these JCAT, because trust me, I guarantee when it's said and done, you're going to find out one of these individuals, specifically the individual that shot the young girl and the child, is a JCAT loose cannon like Jimmy Palmer was. What most of you guys don't know is that Jimmy Palmer had the intellectual mind of a child. His counselors told his mom to be very careful with him because he was very impressionable, and around the wrong people, something could really happen. He can get into some serious trouble. That's what was said about Jimmy Palmer as a kid. I'm not making any excuses for him, but I'm telling you, this is what happens when you get somebody who has that state of mind, involved with gangs, and heavily on drugs. What do you expect? I expect no less from somebody that has the mental capacity of a child, involved with gangs, and on some fucking crystal meth. Have you guys read Renee Boxer's book? Apparently these guys were fucking tweaked out of their minds when they did that shooting. They were on a good one. But let's not lose track. The narrative is that the Nuestra Familia apparently said, fuck the peace treaty. We're gonna rob this, sanction this hit, or at least rob this MS spot, right? That's supplied by the Mexican cartels. Do you not think that is the most fucking wildest conspiracy theory? What lunatic, what person came out with that idea? Why would the Nuestra Familia commit suicide? Because that's what it would be. Not going against the M, but think about it. If the M is aligned with this cartel, which is 10 times more powerful and richer than these organizations, that is committing suicide. That is like basically giving up everything you have, if you have anything, up to the M. Because after that, you're done. If it is true, what they were saying was, that is NF robbing an MS spot supplied by the Mexican cartels who get their chemicals from the Chinese government. I don't know, I think they were talking about UFOs and Bigfoot too somewhere there. I don't know. Or maybe that's just what I heard, because that's what it sounded to me when I listened to the theory. But I don't want to keep going just on the theory, because I can sit there and we'll just keep going on it. But also, during the second press conference, when they did the arrest of these two individuals, I don't want to name their names. So I'm going to do my best to try not to name these guys. I do not want to give them any type of recognition. They do not deserve it, okay? Because they most likely did do this. I say 90% chance these guys did this. We'll go as far as saying 100%, and you'll see why. But according to the press conference, these guys were validated norteños, okay? Were they validated, bona fide validated by CDCR in prison? Or again, is it just because of the gang they belong to and the geographical location of where it is, whenever you have contact with law enforcement, regardless of what you say, you are a norteño? You can tell them no, but they're going to put that in that little field, little card that they fill out every time they run into you. Well, now it's probably the computer, or scanning, or whatever they would probably do. But you can't fight it. As long as they believe, or you admit, or whatever linked to whatever gang and whatever geographical location it is, you belong to that part. So I highly doubt that this is a CDCR validated norteños. But they gotta fearmonger us. If they could slip it in there subconsciously, okay? It's not about being overtly, it's about being subconsciously with these guys and how they manipulate us. But I want to keep going, because like I said, we got a lot to go through, and I want to cram it in and not run it too long. If you guys notice, when they announced on the first press conference, or actually no, the second press conference, when they did their search warrants looking for these individuals, they raided 3 locations. 2 locations contained the 2 individuals they were looking for. Now, I have no proof, nothing whatsoever, but still, one needs to ask the question, why did they go to a 3rd location? Were they looking for someone else other than the 2 shooters at a 3rd location? And who's the registered owner of that house? Or who is the rental name on the contract? Are they connected to law enforcement and possibly informants? I don't have no evidence. I don't have no hunch. Well, no, actually, I'm going on a hunch. That's what I'm doing. I have no credible evidence, nothing to suggest anything, and I'm not going to go any further to say anything about that other than they announced 3 locations, made 2 arrests of 2 guys at 2 locations. Where was the 3rd location? Who were they looking for? And who was that house linked to? And the reason I say that is because in 1975, and we probably can't hear it now because Mundo erased all his shit since we ran him off of YouTube. In 1975, when informant and programmed Cholo serial killer Mundo Mendoza and his informant buddy Sailor Boy Gonzalez take a trip to Bakersfield to kill the Reyes brothers. Oh man, I can't wait till I talk on the Reyes brothers murder. Oh, the shit I know on that one. You guys are gonna fucking flip. When they went to go do this murder, which is classified as a torture murder, because Mundo Mendoza and Sailor Boy tortured these 2 individuals. They did not just kill these guys. They fucking tortured these guys and butchered them. Some fucking satanic, sick shit is what they did to these 2 guys. But anyways, let's get to this. If you guys know the story, ever heard it told, I mean, I hope you guys have heard it. The story goes, Mundo, Sailor, and I cannot think of La Loca, or I cannot think of her name. I just want to say it's Chavo Perez's sister. Well, anyways, La Loca, I think it is, or La Flaca, or whatever. Well, anyways, the story goes, Mundo, Sailor Boy, and this female go to the Bakersfield home of the Reyes brothers and torture and kill them. That did happen. The 3 did go there. They did torture and kill them. Yep, all that did happen. But what people don't know is that when they got arrested, they literally committed these murders, left Bakersfield, and headed back to Los Angeles. Right as they were coming into the Los Angeles, right around the Grapevine, Castaic Lake, I want to say somewhere around there, I think. But they were almost into Los Angeles. They got pulled over and arrested. It was 4 people that were involved in that murder. Mundo, Sailor, the female, and an individual by the name of Speedy Brocamontes. I can't look it up right now because I'm recording on my phone, but it's 4 individuals. I'll put one of the pictures, or I'll put one of the newspaper articles, I'll put several links on this, so you'll probably see them right now. There was 4 people. But if you ask Mundo, if you ask mainstream media, law enforcement, or any prison gang historian, they'll tell you it was only 3 people. But there was 4. There's court transcripts, there's court orders, and court dismissals. Because Speedy got his case dismissed before Mundo and Sailor Boy. But I don't want to lose track of what we're talking about, but I just want to let you know, that's why I said, where was the 3rd location, who were they looking for, and who's the registered owner of that house. Finally, I want to get to where I want to talk about this. And this is important. It might not seem important, but it should be important. Police called this incident when they arrested these 2 individuals Operation Nightmare. Just to arrest 2 people. They had to create a whole tactical operation. They knew who these individuals were. from day one. They knew where they lived. They knew everything about these guys. They knew they did not require no massive manpower to get these guys. A typical SWAT team could have took them down. But instead, they created an operation called Operation Nightmare, because this was a PR campaign. This was a public relations campaign. This was about wasting our taxpayers. Wasting our taxpayers' money is what it was about. It was about fear-mongering us, is what it was about. This was not about solving a crime. They did not really care about what happened to that family. They were more concerned about their image, how they could use this to sell it to us, to scare us, to think that it's a cartel hit, that the NF backstabbed the MA in the peace treaty and was going to take out one of their drug spots. And then let's talk about the prison arrest. They also said, or not prison arrest, I'm sorry, let me take that back. Now I'm acting like the snitch influencers of mainstream media. The cell searches they conducted in prison, they didn't arrest nobody. Nobody's being held for questioning. No one's charged, under investigation. They just searched some cells in prison. I have a news flash for you guys. They search cells in prison every fucking day. That doesn't necessarily mean it's directly connected to some criminal activity on the streets. It just means prison staff is doing the routine of searching certain cells that they have to search every day. They have a quota. They can't just sit around. They have to eventually search cells, whether it's 1 cell or 10 cells or 20 cells a day, who knows? But their cells search every day. They just picked, hey, we searched some cells and we think it might be connected to this. And apparently, if you listen to a lot of the reports, they have direct communications or kites or claiming to have direct knowledge that NF or imprisoned leaders were communicating with these individuals. So you're telling us they have evidence to connect specific people in prison. Yet again, no one's arrested. Right? That makes no logical sense. They just ramble, pick shit up. You guys know another thing? Let me tell you guys a thing you guys might not know. You can contact any public information officer for whatever prison you want to pick. Or you can contact the state. Tell them that you're researching violence in prison. Tell them that you want to know how much of the annual violence is attributed to the gangs or gang-related violence. They don't keep track of that shit. They don't keep data of what murder was known to be a gang murder and which one was a J-Cat killing another J-Cat, or which one was racially motivated, or 2 homosexuals that killed themselves in the cell. They don't track none of that. And they do that so at the end of the year, whenever they want to sell us the idea that prison gangs are very violent, they tell us how many stabbings they had that year, how many killings they had that year. But they don't tell us how many of those specific killings are actually attributed to the gangs. And I guarantee you, if they gave you a specific number, you would laugh when they try to scare you of how dangerous these groups are. Ask any public information officer how many killings that happened in the SHU were connected directly through court convictions to be related to gangs. That's a good one. You won't get no answer. But I don't want to lose track. Let's keep going. We're almost there. We just have a few more things to fucking touch on. And we'll call it quits. Man, I think this is going to be close to an hour. But it's good. I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, So recently, as of February 7th, which is today, I believe, the Los Angeles Times put out an article updating the Goshen Massacre. Okay, this article claims that in 2014, now I have to say this individual's name, and I don't want to, but I'm gonna, and I'm gonna try to pronounce it right. Urati, I believe it's how it's pronounced, was arrested. Now you know why all the other guys are using his middle nickname, or his nickname, or his first name, because his last name is kind of hard to pronounce. This individual was arrested in 2014 for a shooting, for not just a shooting, for allegedly shooting at Eladio Parza's girlfriend, and her name is Crystal Hammonds. And what I want to talk to you guys about it is that I believe, I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure it is the girl on that 911 call that's being played on viral by now, or is on the news, is that woman that this individual shot at. In that 911 call, I do believe that is her. Now anyways, he shot at her in 2014. Now I don't want to go into all the details, but I'll try to keep it brief because, like I said, we got more stuff to talk about. Eladio Parza apparently was there comforting her when law enforcement came. They spoke to law enforcement. Eladio gave statements to law enforcement. Now, I don't want to call people stuff, and I'm not gonna call it. And I hope none of you guys comment, and if you do, I'm letting you know, I'll erase it. But in that world, and we know what world we're talking about, you don't talk to them like that. He gave statements. He told them that they had beef with these guys before, specifically that individual that did the shooting. He told them that he had beef with another family member, and that the entire family had beef with one of the shooter's family. This is like a ghetto Hatfield and McCoy's. This is what it is. This isn't a prison gang sanctioned robbery or hit gone wrong. This is some tweaker, ghetto hood family beef. And I'm not trying to smut people up. The shooters, I care less about them. But the individuals, the victims, I'm not trying to smut them up, but it is what it is. When they did that shooting and all this happened, they found 20 grams of methamphetamines in the chick's car. Like I said, I don't want to smut nobody up, but we know the life. We know what it is. And this was just like some beef between one group of family members and another group of family members gone extremely too far. Extremely too far. But anyways, what I want to talk about is these statements. The girl, the female, the one I believe is on that 911 call, she identified the individual to police. She testified, well, maybe didn't have to testify because he probably pleaded guilty, but her statements were used to incarcerate him. He knows he was in jail because one of the women at the house identified him. In all honesty, he did the crime, he should do the time and not bitch. Okay? That's what I'll say about that. But the individual, Eladio, gave statements too, which were also used against him. So are you starting to get the picture of why this happened? This wasn't no NF sanctioned hit gone wrong. This is totally something else, something simpler, not some off-the-wall, badly written Spanish cartel soap opera. But let's keep going. Man, I really wish I this weekend started working on a video for this, and I was gonna drop it. I didn't like the way it came out. It sounded fucked up, and I ended up erasing it. And then I ended up getting this recent information, and I was so happy because I could make this video. But I really wish I would have saved the other one, because I would have played the clip. And this was from Saturday, when I played that I guarantee you that one of these individuals was going to be a dropout, if not both. And I really wanted to touch on that subject. That was one of the key points that I was talking about in that first video that I ended up erasing. But turns out this individual, when he was arrested and questioned by law enforcement, the other individual that was with him told law enforcement that he was actively claiming to hang out with the North Daniels or the Northerners. But when it came to said individual, which I'll say his name again, I'll use the same name, Nanu, Alex Nanu, or yeah, Angel, right? Alex Angel Nanu, Urati, I believe is his last name, told law enforcement that he is classified as a dropout, a North Daniel dropout. Now there's people trying to say that he just said that so he couldn't get a gang enhancement. But does that sound logical? That he's going to tell law enforcement, hey, I'm a dropout, so that way they don't give him a gang enhancement. But yet, they're going to tell him, okay, you told us you're a dropout, so we're going to go and we fill out all our forms, we're going to classify you as a dropout, but yet we're going to put you in general population because you're active. And we know that you're just doing that so you don't get the enhancement. Do you really think they would allow that to happen? Or that CDCR would not catch on that this guy is a fucking liar? Come on, for reals. If you look at this guy's conviction, he got 7 years. Okay? Where was the gang enhancement? Most people get like 10 years or fucking their entire lives just on the gang enhancements. This guy got 7 years, only did 5 years of that 7 years. Because he was a PC. He was a dropout. He was an SNY. So now they're going to try to sell us the notion that the NF sent these two buffoons who were probably fucking strung out dope fiends, and one was a fucking known dropout, to do this hit, to take out an MS spot that's supplied by the cartels in Mexico, which they don't know who gets their chemicals from the Chinese, who socializes with the Russians, and are friends with Bin Laden. Yup, that is the world we live in. The bullshit we believe. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. Does that change the aspect of the entire case? That one of the individuals, which I guarantee you was the individual who, I don't want to say mastermind this, but maybe while the shooting was going on, he was more the leader than the younger guy. And I've heard that the younger guy who actually did the shooting and killed the young child was a loose cannon. That he's said to be a loose cannon, like Jimmy Palmer. Now, I'm going to try to keep the Maxson Road one short because, like I said, it's very long. But lots to talk about. Lots to talk about. Lots of details that everyone else leaves out that the outlaw does it. Now let's talk about the Maxson Road murders. Because now we know that in Goshen, forever in our minds, whether we like it or not, this was a Nuestra Familia sanctioned hit gone wrong. People probably forget about the M and the cartels, but it forever will be known as a Nuestra Familia hit gone wrong. Even though it's not. It's something totally different. Something much simpler. But what I want to touch on, before we go on to Maxson Road, because I'm just forgetting now, is that certain individuals are telling people that they believe that in the future there's going to be Nuestra Familia people, Nuestra Familia members arrested, connected to this. I guarantee you there'll be no NF members directly arrested, convicted, questioned, detained, anything related to this. And I guarantee you when they find the buffer, because they're going to try to present whoever was orchestrating these guys. Another good question is, did these two guys drive there by themselves, or was there somebody driving them? That's a good question. But if if and when they start claiming and naming a certain person to be a buffer in between the prison and the streets, I guarantee you that individual will not be charged, will not be questioned, will not be forced to testify in the case for anybody, whether it's as defense or prosecution. He will not testify. Other than him being publicly named, will not be held accountable for it. And now, let's go to the Maxson Road murders. Which the Maxson Road murders happened in January 22nd of 1995 in El Monte, California. I don't really have all that pulled up right here, so I'm kind of just winging it from what I know. And if you don't know, just watch Gangland, the Mexican Mafia Code of Conduct. They do a very good job of scaring the shit out of you with it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Dead identical to the Goshen Massacre. Dead on. I didn't know any better. You'd be like, they're talking about the same shit, because it's literally the same thing that happened. They tried to say it was the Emmett who sanctioned a hit gone wrong against Tito Moreno, and the family ended up dead, right? Can you guys name one Mexican Mafia member that was arrested, convicted, sent to death row, or at least questioned and detained in connection with the Maxson Road murders? Because apparently, this is forever in our minds, an Emmett-related murder gone wrong. Yet, no Emmett member is arrested, convicted, questioned, detained, or testified in this case, regardless of its defense or prosecution. Never testified. Now, I know some of you guys are going to go, oh, we're Luis Pelon Maciel, okay? The hit happened in April 22nd, I told you, right? I hope I'm right. Maybe it's 24th, but I'm pretty damn sure it's 22nd. Pelon Maciel became an Emma member, if he became an official member, which I really highly doubt. He did not. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. That guy is not Emma. He became an Emma member, or at least in his mind, on April 2nd. So this guy was only an official, if he was, which he wasn't, Emma member for 20 days before the Maxson Road murders happened. So for anyone that tries to say this guy was an Emma member, no. He was a pawn. He was a cutout. He was a guy that was designed to take the fall. And he needed someone to look like an orchestrator. And he fit the role. Naive, young, foolish, willing to do whatever. Some imprisoned guy. I guarantee you that guy probably was fucking tweaked out of his mind, drunk all the time, and watched a shitload of blood in, blood out in American Me. And before he met these guys, and then was like, I'll do whatever you say. I'm already programmed. So the only guy that's supposed to be an Emma member was only an Emma member for 20 days. And if you guys watch the little clips on Gangland, I've seen pretty much a good portion of the video. They didn't want to make him an Emma member. They didn't want to allow him to become an Emma member. Raymond Weddle had to literally push the issue to make him an Emma member. It got into a good conversation where they didn't want to make him an Emma member. And he was not made an Emma member from prison. It was only within that group of those guys that were in that hotel room, which most of them didn't want to officially raise their hand to make him an Emma member. He only got the 2 necessary votes, because it requires 3 votes apparently. Raymond Weddle won, and he got the other 2 necessary votes to make Pelon Maciel a so-called Emma member from, guess who? Undercover informant Chuco Castro, and fellow undercover informant Cowboy Thurene. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Thurene, I believe, is last Randy Cowboy. So if you guys know, you know who I'm talking about. Those 2 informants raise their hand so Weddle can make Pelon Maciel think he's an Emma member. So they can convince him to go do the Maxson Road murders. And now, there's no evidence that Pelon Maciel himself was caught on transcripts, recordings, anything that they may have, actually orchestrating the murder. There's a picture, and it said that Raymond Weddle took him to the house to tell him that this is the guy you're gonna hit, and when I give the drugs to the guy, that's the guy you're gonna hit. There's no recording of nothing of that's the guy you're gonna hit. It's just, I'm taking you to this guy and you're gonna meet this guy. And, hey, you wanna buy drugs? Hit my homie up alone anytime you want. That's it. There's no conversation of you're gonna whack this guy. None of that shit. Or hey, okay, this is the guy I'm gonna kill. Okay, I got it, no problem. None of that. He just went with Weddle to the house, thinking that Weddle was gonna introduce him to a guy that wants to buy dope because he sells dope for Weddle. And when it came to do the hit, now I'm not making excuses, I'm just telling you what's out there. When it came to do this hit, he was told from Weddle to meet with these guys just prior to the hit and to give them some drugs. He wasn't told to pass any orders. He wasn't told to give them any guns, gloves, any type of material that was used in that murder. He was just told from Weddle said individuals are going to come through and I need you to hook them up with something because they're going to go do something for me. So it could look, when it all came down to it, the buffer, Luis Pelon Maciel, can look in court as being the head honcho orchestrator, when in reality, it wasn't. And what you guys don't know about the Matson Road murders is that Luis Pelon Maciel, along with several other defendants, have numerous times tried to appeal their case and their conviction. Even from the get-go, when the case is going, they tried to ask for their defense to cross-examine and to subpoena Raymond Weddle. Never happened. Law enforcement, the prosecution, the prison system, and everyone is doing everything possible to protect Weddle from having to testify in the case or their appeals. Apparently, there's something that he knows or was involved in that they don't want to come out. Maybe that explains why Weddle is in a comfortable, cushy federal prison instead of a maximum security federal prison. Now remember, the purpose of sending these guys to federal prison is to send them thousands of miles away from their power base so they cannot continue their criminal enterprise. Yet, go look up Weddle name on the BOP inmate search and you'll see this here in California, Southern California. In their appeals, they repeatedly claim that they were not the masterminds of the Maxson Road murders, or at least Pelon Maciel claims he was not the mastermind. There was someone else above him that orchestrated it. And the other individuals claim that they only committed the Maxson Road murders under threat because they had done some other dumb shit that Weddle was able to threaten them that if they didn't go do this shit that he wanted done at Maxson Road, he was going to green light them. Now, I'm not making excuses for these people, but I want you to understand that it's not what it seems. Those individuals, they were probably brainwashed on American Me Too, but they didn't do it because they were super fucking hardcore sureños or putting in work for the big homies. They were trying to clean up something they did. I don't know what. I don't know if it was a drive-by or they killed somebody that was related to some. But he got leverage on them. I'll tell you that right now. He got leverage on them. He found something that he can use against some dummies that would believe what he would say. And they believed everything because, hey, they watched American Me and we're supposed to fucking worship you guys. and he was able to convince them to do that. So this is what they claim. But yet, it is sold to this. The Maxson Road murders was a Mexican mafia hit gone wrong, just like the Goshen Massacre was an NF-sanctioned robbery or murder gone wrong. But yet, we got no NF people, direct NF members, leaders, associates, nothing in the Goshen murder. Just like the Maxson Road murders, no MM member arrested for the Maxson Road murders. Though, we can go watch a documentary on Gangland and they show you surveillance footage of a said individual taking another individual to the house the days prior, saying this is the dude. Well, like I said, he didn't specifically tell them, but they have surveillance footage of said individual who is the real mastermind, and they have audio and video surveillance footage of him asking for a green light to commit that murder. I know you guys seen it on Gangland if you guys have watched Gangland. And I bet you guys probably think Pelon and Maciel was at that meeting. That was not the same meeting. That was not the April 2nd meeting where Pelon Maciel was made an MM member, or thought he was an MM member. The video they're playing is from January 5th, 1995, in, I want to say, Montebello, or, no, not Montebello, well, shoot, Whittier. Well, anyways, that's not even important. It's in a hotel, it's a meeting, it's Raven Weddle-Shy asking the other MM members if they're familiar with Tito Moreno. Little conversation goes by, Tito, and he has to reinforce who Tito Moreno is. All those MM members that are there, and no one's ever heard of Tito Moreno. That odd? There's members that are just as old and apparently been in the organization just as long as Weddle-Shy that are in that room, that were in prison the same time allegedly Tito Moreno became an MM member, and not one of them, oh yeah, I know homeboy. They were all at a loss. Have you guys ever heard Mundo profile Tito Moreno as an MM member? Besides the Maxson Road murders, have you ever heard anyone tell a story where they were in prison, a hit, anything that would lead you to believe that's Tito Moreno that they're talking about that ends up getting killed in the Maxson Road? No, right? He's not on the Black Hand picture. And I guarantee you, CDCR has no documentation anywhere in their system of Tito Moreno being an MM member. But somehow, he's an MM member that dropped out or they just left the organization without permission. I really don't know. But that's just something I want to point out. That besides the Maxson Road murders, there's no proof that Tito Moreno was ever an MM member. But let's go back to the hotel. So they're in this meeting. Weddle-Shy is asking for a vote. Pelon Maciel is not there. Pelon Maciel doesn't know these meetings are happening. He doesn't know the topics. He doesn't even know that Maxson Road is being talked about. So he's asking for a vote. Again, he can't just make this happen on himself. He can't just make this official green light, right? He needs other people to sanction it. 2 people to sanction it. Who do you think sanctioned it? Informant Chuco Castro and informant Randy Cowboy Therine. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to say anything else because this is running really long. So I'm going to leave it now and ask you that final question. Do you think the Goshen Massacre is the Norteño version of the El Monte 1995 Matson Road murders? And did your first opinion of what I said change from my second time I asked you? Because I'm thinking the first time I asked you, you probably thought, well, yeah, because look, a child was killed and there's a large amount of people and it's related to prison crap. just like the Matson Road murders, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. The similarities are the fact that the media is selling us the Goshen Massacre as the NF breaking the pact of the peace treaty against the MA, to robbing a dope house that's supplied by Mexican cartels who get their drugs from the Chinese government. And then we got the Maxson Road murders that apparently were an MN hit gone wrong against a guy who MN members don't know who he is, Tito Moreno, right? But no MN members are arrested, no MN members are questioned, forced to testify, held accountable for their roles and what they themselves present to us every day in the public to know damn well was involved in. There's no fucking, hey, let me see the evidence. They show us the evidence themselves on these documentaries. They know damn well who's behind this shit. And just like I told you, when it came to the Goshen Massacre, what happened? The buffer, nothing's gonna happen, right? That's why I told you, nothing's gonna happen to the buffer. Just like Maxson Road. No matter what information comes public now, no matter what anyone says, this forever will be a tarnish on an organization that had nothing to do with it. Tulare County will forever, at least in our minds for the next few months until the new massacre comes around and we forget about this one, will be smutted up. And people are gonna, oh man, you should be scared to go to Tulare County because there's cartel activity in Riverside County. Forever, no matter what anyone says. Someone can come out right now and say, hey, I know who killed JFK. I have all the information. I have statements from the individual. Don't matter, because television told me it was a magic bullet out of Lee Harvey Oswald's rifle. So nothing can change that. It forever will be a magic bullet shot out of a rifle that cannot possibly shoot that many bullets that fast from a man named Lee Harvey Oswald. A single lone assassin. If someone was to come out, and I bet you guys don't even know this, and tell you, hey, do you guys know that the King family sued the FBI and they won, proving that the FBI was involved in the assassination of Martin Luther King? You'll say no. It was some lone racist guy that was homeless before he went to prison, who escaped from prison, killed Martin Luther King, and then somehow got fake passports and was able to be found in Europe. But it was a lone nut assassin. Even though someone's going to say, I got the court documentation saying, hey, the FBI admits they were involved in the assassination of Martin Luther King. No, because Fox 11 News, Chris Blanchford, told me it's a lone assassin. Because Chris Blanchford told me to be scared of anyone with tattoos or to be scared of any time I go into the ghetto. Forever, the Goshen Massacre will be labeled as a Nuestra Familia sanctioned hit gone wrong, yet it was a dropout who was actually one of the masterminds. And I guarantee you it will be a dropout that was the buffer. Now, I don't know if I said in the beginning that I was going to talk about the dead president's case. I don't even remember. I've been ranting for so long that I totally forgot. But I want to talk to you guys about the dead president's case just real fast. The dead president's case, and look it up. I am going to do an entire thing on the dead president's case. The dead president's case happened in San Bernardino County in July 9th of 2000. Apparently, there was a gang meeting to decide the leadership of a gang. A fight broke out during this meeting, and guns just were pulled out from everywhere. One guy pulled out an Uzi and another gun, two guns, an Uzi and another gun, and were just letting off. People were wearing bulletproof vests. I mean, 4 people died. 6 people total got shot. 4 of them died. 2 of them were cousins. 2 of them were brothers. 2 of them were presidents of the local gangs in San Bernardino, and the other 2 were high-ranking members within that gang. The guys who did the killing were trying to dethrone them so they can hold the keys, because apparently the homeboy's name is Johnny Agudo. Apparently Johnny Agudo had previously gotten arrested and became an informant, and supposedly gave up information on a local Mexican mafia member. This Mexican mafia member, from in prison somehow, sanctioned the hit on these guys, and these guys went and did the hit and killed them. Ask anybody, read any newspaper article, you will find nobody that'll tell you anything other than this was a Mexican mafia sanctioned hit. But then go look at the court transcripts. That's not what prosecutors say the motive was. They mentioned he was an informant. They mentioned he gave up information. But they didn't say directly that this was a Mexican mafia sanctioned hit. Gone terrifically, I'm not wrong, but just wild. Because this was like half of one gang and half of another gang just having a shootout. Two of the guys that were killed, the 2 brothers, were found with guns in their pocket. They were shot before they were even able to pull out the guns. Well, anyways, read any article, talk to anybody. This was for sure a Mexican mafia orchestrated crime. Yet, no Mexican mafia members arrested. Yet, they will publicly name the guy who supposedly orchestrated this incident. But no one's arrested. He's left alone, not questioned. Nothing. But somehow, this is Mexican mafia crime. And that's what I wanted to tell you guys, emphasize. That they push these incidents that are tragic. And I'm not saying they're not tragic. In every shape or form tragic. But they push a narrative that just isn't true. To scare us. To sell us prison, boogeyman, fairy tales. Telling the truth would do enough to fucking scare the shit out of us. If the news just told us 2 fucking JCat guys went into Goshen and killed those people, that would scare you regardless if it was cartels or not. But they have to fucking tell us some crazy fucking Hollywood, bad acting, cartel soap opera. So again, please leave your comments, like, sub to the channel. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to leave no closing because it ran really long. And I really want to know what you think. From the first time I asked you the question to the second time I asked you the question. Is the Goshen Massacre the new Maxson Road murders? And have a good one. Clinch fist salute. Y venceremos till the next time.